reminder that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast on WestfordCAT on YouTube. And we will start by calling to order and our Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Okay. And so we will start with our, everything okay there, Val? Okay. We will start with our consent agenda. On it tonight we have our school committee meeting meeting minutes dated the 3rd of November, and our budget transfers and our FY27 international field trips approval. Have we any questions on any of those, or are we okay to vote on those?
Just one comment on the international. Is that something that we should be looking to change a policy, or is it just a practice of when things are approved?
Yes, it's just that we're moving this forward, so they'll probably be coming to us more like a year out. The policy actually is fine. The wording says just at least a year. So
okay, that's
fine. So perfect. Thank you.
I had some questions on the Belize trip. I wonder if I could get a little more context for that. So I just wasn't sure if that's part of a group or a club or something, or if that's just any student can join that.
It's any student that can join.
Okay, and what's sort of the educational purpose for that?
I think it's included within the agenda that I had.
They're looking at the different.
But they're
looking at the rainforest and the different the different natural. Can't think of the best word at the moment.
Ecosystems.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
That are there, but that they put that all in the application and the form itself.
Yeah, I read that. It was a little scant, but the looking at the tour operator's guide, it reads a little bit more like a vacation. So I was a little bit curious as to kind of the educational value. I think there's some great experiences in there, but then there's also things like zip lining, which was my other question. Like, that can be very dangerous. So I don't know who assumes the insurance and risk on something like that.
That's an excellent question. I'm assuming that it's the travel company, in terms of, because that's what's, a company has put this together, and then the students would then, if they choose to go, would be electing to participate in that, and they would be, that the cost of their trip would be including aspects of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it does have a clause in there that says there's a weight limit on the zip lining, so if there were some students that couldn't participate, is there an alternative?
No.
Okay. It's just
a good
known that
question.
You just
Yeah.
can't. Okay.
Yeah. And again, I will say it is a trip that we're bringing to you for you to consider. It is created by a tour company. It's not
For
our.
students,
It's not our faculty members who are creating this trip as much as they're finding an opportunity to provide this chance for students to do that. But I think that's a good point.
And has EF Tours, I would presume that they've been used before by the district
They have,
for
yeah.
international trips too? Yeah.
Yep.
They are pretty renowned for their,
Yeah.
okay.
It looks like it's sort of science and social studies based, because they're going to explore 2 different ecosystems, jungle and coastal, it says, and then they're also learning about the history and traditions of the indigenous people there. So.
Okay. Are we ready to vote? Any other comments? Okay, so I will take a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
And all in favor? That's a 7-0. Awesome. Moving on to public comment. Anybody in the room is more than welcome to join us at the table here. We typically ask people to keep their comments to about 2 minutes. Have we anybody on the line, Valerie? I don't think we have anybody in the room for public comment. Nope. Okay. And we'll move on to informational updates. So we'll start with our students this evening.
Let's see. Last Friday, the play Cinderella had their opening night.
Yes, we did opening night and then a matinee on Saturday, and we have 4 more shows on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday. We had great turnouts for both of them. A lot of little kids from the community who dressed up as Cinderella. It was very sweet.
It's fun.
Awesome.
Thanksgiving break is next week, and quarter one just ended recently.
Yeah, people have been definitely less stressed
Less
out. I
stress,
think.
especially seniors.
Grades came out,
Mhm.
yeah. Assignments went in.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, guys. Moving on to our superintendent's update.
So every year, we like to share the successes that the ghostwriter has. And
Yes.
so the ghostwriter staff, the students, they attended the National High School Journalism Convention. And we had a number of students who received awards. So juniors Tessa Zato and Sarah Mativier, and seniors Shrivas Arun, Katie Fondin, and Penelope Zambrana. All were honored for the work that they do while they're there. They have a specific write-off contest that will take place while they're at this conference, and so their work was recognized. And so we congratulate them, and we thank and congratulate the two advisors who help support that work. Every year, the Westford Rotary distributes dictionaries to our third
Yes.
graders, and so we are in the season of dictionary.
It came home to the
presentations.
McDonald
Did you get
household
it?
last
Right.
week, yes. it
Okay,
did. It did.
so they, we're very grateful for the fact that they do that. Students get really excited about getting a dictionary, and it's always kind of a fascinating thing, and the teachers always respond to how the students immediately are diving into, wow, look, we can look up all these words right
On
right now."
paper.
On paper, right here.
Full
But I appreciate the fact that the Rotary does this every year, and I know the students really enjoy it. So I just wanted to thank them for that work that they do. Interestingly, we got a response from our middle school, the middle school exploration policy that we
Okay.
needed to submit.
Yeah?
So apparently, AIR and DESE, so AIR, the organization that we've been working with for our equity
Yeah.
audit, they also work with DESE, and so they looked at all of the submissions, and they reviewed it to see how it matched the regulations, and their feedback to us was that we had the word annually when we talked about sharing the emails and
yeah.
addresses. They would like that to say by October 15th. So,
Wow.
so
Okay.
I'm going to recommend that we do look at that and change the word annually in the line that's specifically referring to sharing those
Okay.
that information, and change it to by October 15th each year. That was the feedback that we got.
Do we need to open up a policy for public
I-
comment?
That's why I'm bringing it to you in the
update.
update right now, because I don't, what I know is, again, what we needed to submit didn't actually need to be approved by the school
Yeah,
committee.
yeah.
So
But they want the October
your
15th.
policy still
Yeah.
fits, because your policy says annually, and so if
Yeah.
we change, and if we're aligning our practice and we are telling DESE that we're going to do it by October 15th annually, then it still meets that, but I'm gonna kick that back to you as.
Okay.
We do have a meeting this week.
We do.
Okay, so you might,
It's on the docket.
we might consider that.
I will say I did meet Superintendent Pigeon at the
Mhm.
MASC conference last week, and I did thank her for
Yeah.
sending the draft version. That it was a great help.
I
So,
will say, when
yeah.
I got that email from DESE, I thought, how many other people got this email?
Yeah,
Because there were a number of us who collaborated
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that
yeah,
and
yeah.
saw that language was sufficient, but apparently DESE
They like
wanted to
dates.
say October 15th,
Okay.
so that's
Okay.
what, all right?
What Desi wants, Desi gets.
Right.
And on November 4th was our our second full day of professional development for the district. Many different sessions took place district-wide that included structured literacy and math workshops, collaborative problem solving, a review of our new SEL curriculum, which is Wayfinder, restorative practices. A select group of middle school and high school teachers did the restorative conferences. We also had some UDL representation and other targeted professional development for our nurses and some of the related service providers. So it was a pretty full day as far as many different offerings for hundreds of staff members, and it was successful. Brian Rourke, our PE Wellness Curriculum Coordinator, along with Jocelyn McDonald, our physical therapist that we contract with, and the WA Robotics team has been collaborating together to build switch-activated ball launchers and frisbee launchers. And so it's pretty cool that this new equipment is now being available district-wide and helps to build up our adaptive PE equipment. So the PE teachers can get in touch, well, have been getting in touch with Brian and to share that equipment. So that's great. The Robotics Club is doing a great job. Also, our unified basketball team finished up their session last week with a jamboree in Lowell, and they're now looking forward to a staff and student basketball game on Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Awesome.
Finally, I do want to mention that daily substitute teachers are still needed. So anybody that might be interested or know somebody that could be interested, please visit our human resources page for a listing of all of our job openings. But there is an online application for substitutes that you can access through the website.
We're getting into cold and flu season. They're always needed.
And that's it.
Okay, awesome. Any updates from school committee?
Well, the STAC subcommittee met with Anya and a few other students tonight. Valerie was there to join us as well, and Lori and I. We continued a very robust discussion about artificial intelligence in schools and screen time and device use in schools, even starting from a very early age. A lot of good opinions. We talked about AI and sort of, maybe almost vision of a graduate. What would Westford students who leave WA and the community want to have in terms of skills or qualities around technology and authenticity and ambition. And we were talking a lot about recruitment in middle school around not just student senate and government-related clubs, but also about other domains and areas in the district, and making sure that our 8th graders knew the robust offerings that are available at WA before they enter their freshman year. So it's a great discussion tonight.
Awesome. Super.
Yep.
Any others?
I can talk about
Yeah.
So Catherine and I attended the Mass Association of School Committees and Mass Association of School Superintendents Conference at the end of last week, where AI was also a theme.
A big theme.
Yeah, for students, for teachers, for schools, for school
Yeah.
systems. I was kind of looking at it from all angles. Some of the other big themes were planning in the face of sort of fiscal and legislative uncertainty. I think everybody's grappling with that right now, as well as communication and wellness strategies in the digital age, of course. And then I went to a session on the MSBA process, which was really helpful to hear some of their updates and new programs and really just get oriented to the process that we're going through. So thank you to the district for allowing me to go. It was really a wonderful experience.
Yeah, no, and just to jump in on what Jess was saying, it's really interesting when you go to that conference because you hear other districts and then you go, actually, you know what, we're doing pretty okay. We've got solid, procedures and structures and everything in place, and, we seem to be, doing okay. So it was quite good, and we met lots of various different school committee members and from various other districts. So again, it's a really good conference for anyone to start thinking about next year. And I believe it's going to be in a location a bit closer to home next year. So
Oh, really?
yes. So this
good.
was the last year on the Cape.
Okay,
So
that's good.
we shall stay tuned. Any other, Laurie, did you have an update?
Oh, before our next meeting on Sunday, November 30th, at 4 o'clock, I believe, the Westford annual tree lighting will be happening, so led by the Westford Girl Scouts.
Awesome.
There will be song, there will be crafts, and lots of exciting holiday activities.
Super. Always a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Anything?
Finance has met a couple more times,
Busy.
and
You're just twiddling your thumbs this year.
Yeah.
we've done sort of a preliminary vetting of 2 fee increases that will come as part of the FY27 budget presentation. So I'll make sure those minutes are ready so that you can see any discussion that we had, as well as some of that background data that we collected as part of the sort of budget package.
Awesome. Super. Okay. Next, moving on, we have some recognitions this evening.
Yes, we do. We have with us Nicholas Ang and Hanson Shi. I would love to invite the two of you to join us here for a minute. So every year, the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents provides us with these awards for academic excellence. And so we reach out to Westford Academy and we ask them for their recommendations. And this year they recommended the two of you specifically. And so before we give you these awards, I'd love to put you in the hot seat and talk to you just for a minute and give you a chance to, share with the school committee perhaps some of your experiences so far. You're receiving awards for academic excellence, so you've clearly done very well while you've been with us. I'll kick it off by just asking if you might consider sharing maybe one educator who pops to your mind as someone who has just had an impact on you.
I think like the one educator that comes to my mind is my chemistry teacher last year, Mr. Niddle. So I think his teaching style and like ability to interact with his students is really something that's really benefited me in my learning journey. And I definitely found a lot of fun in like his labs and his class in general.
Oh,
That's great.
I would probably say the same. I was also in Mr. No's chemistry class, and I think like some of his demonstrations were pretty fun. Like I remember like one time he put like a gummy bear in a tube and then he like lit it on fire.
I will say you're not alone.
Yeah.
We hear his name a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people will talk about was that an AP chemistry class?
Yeah.
They'll talk about that quite a bit. Yeah.
Popular teacher.
Yeah. Any other?
Any questions, guys?
I just know this is a huge honor because, to be in Westford Schools, which is a very competitive district, to be a student in Massachusetts where education is so highly regarded, and for you guys to be nominated for this award is exceptional, and we're so proud of you. We're so proud of all the students in Westford, but you two should be acknowledged for the hard work and what you're going to bring forth to your future and the communities that you serve, down the road. It's an incredible honor, so thank you for being such a positive impact in our community.
Thank you.
I'd love to know, are there any kind of clubs or activities or events that, not this year or the last few years, that stand out that you've really enjoyed at your time at WA, or?
I guess for me, like working with the math team, like last year we hosted like this competition for middle schoolers. I think it was pretty cool. It was like the first time we ever did that at WA.
Oh.
And we had like a pretty good turnout too.
Oh, awesome.
That's awesome.
That's fun. I love that.
I think for me it's mostly like being part of like the band community. I think we do a lot of performances there, whether it's for the community or for like the younger students in the district. So that's always a really great like and pretty meaningful way for me to perform with other students and connect with others. So.
I have a question. Like we're recognizing you for academic excellence, so there's some definition of what we think that means, and that's wonderful to achieve. But I'm curious what's sort of your proudest achievement that you're going to take away from this, from your experience here.
No pressure.
Or a proud.
Sure.
Yeah.
I did the same thing. Like, what's the one educator? Like, it doesn't just something that pops to mind when you think in terms of what are you proud of?
I think one of the things I'm most proud of in like my academic journey is kind of like how far I've grown in terms of being able to like handle different subjects and being able to like tackle certain like challenges, because obviously in a school district like Westford there's a lot of challenges. We are always challenged to grow and improve ourselves, so just being able to like continue to move forward, I'm just pretty proud of like how far we've come as students. So.
Like me too, I say I'm proud of how I like changed that's like from my freshman year in terms of how like my work ethic probably and how I've like kind of managed my time.
Yeah. That's great. Unless there's any other deep questions, I would love to present the two of you with these honors. Let's see. So Nicholas, this is yours.
Thank you.
Hanson. Yeah, this will be yours, make sure. We can stand up. Families are here. We want to thank you for all of the work that you've done, because in this case, I mean, now granted, we do, as I think we've already said, I mean, we have phenomenal students here, and you are representing them at this moment in time. Yes, you have done excellent things as well, but you are representing, I think, the phenomenal students that we have throughout the district. And so thank you for all of your hard work. Thank you for making us proud. And we hope that this is a part of your fond memories of Westford as your journey continues. But we congratulate you. Congratulations. Congratulations. If maybe you want to get pictures with your families, maybe you don't. But I did just say it, so I basically opened that door. And right now, if that's something you didn't want, your family does.
So you never ask the
Yeah, your
kids.
family-
It's
I know.
always the parents who
Right.
want the pictures.
Trying to help them out a little bit. Remind them that your family wants the pictures, right? We're not.
Yeah.
And you can
I
have your
hear you.
pictures taken with your family. That's always a good idea too. But now, I mean, you're practically graduates, so you have to make some decisions. How do you make this work? We'll see your problem-solving skills.
I think we should take our picture.
Okay. So you can invite
Take one
them up?
together,
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to come up?
We want to make it as awkward as possible in this moment in time.
Oh, sure, thank you.
But I don't have to be in it. I can be if you want me to. If your family wants to be in the
Yeah, we
picture,
can
we'll
all
be-
have it.
we can do them all together. We can do them separately. We can do them all together. Yeah, you two are, yeah. Well, no, you two should be in the middle. 'Cause where do we want?
No, you should be in the middle with the families on either side. Yeah.
We want to go together because we got
Yeah.
Miss Bucci, what's the best background?
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
That's it.
Oh, yeah. Squished together.
And we can put all these people in the background too. People are trying to
Photoshop.
get out of the picture.
Yeah.
And congrats to the parents who
That's
got
right.
to get really
Oh, thank you.
special
Yes.
boys there. Great.
And I apologize for my goofy facial hair, but
That'll be something to keep forever, something new.
congratulations. You are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. You certainly don't have to. But thank you for all of your work. Now, if it would be possible, Madam Chair, I would love to hijack the meeting just a little bit and add an additional recognition.
Go first.
Because one of your own received this very, very incredible award, a special award that she wasn't able to get this on Friday night. But we know that Valerie Young has been doing incredible work for our district since the time that she has joined the school committee, and it was recognized by the state. And so the Massachusetts Association of School Committees awarded you, I would say presented, but they didn't present because you weren't able to make it, but they awarded you you are named as an all-state school committee member for that work, and we are incredibly proud of you, and we are incredibly grateful for everything that you've been doing for us. And so on behalf of the entire district and the state, really, we
And my name's
present.
spelled right?
We hope so.
Yes. Do people mess that up a lot?
All the time. All the time.
Are there multiple ways to?
Well, Valerie could be IE.
Right.
Oh, okay.
That's the only thing I could think of.
I'm glad that my default was correct. So we thank you, and we present this award to you. It's a plaque. We can embarrass you anymore.
We need a photo. We need to do
take
the
a
official.
picture.
Yeah.
Right? With the sideburns. You'll want that for a long
You
time.
got better pictures. You got better cameras.
I'm up there. I'm ready.
Maybe I should shake your hand.
No, that's it. Hang
Or you
on.
gotta hold
We
the
need
thing.
okay. Actually, that's a better angle. You've got the
Oh, definitely. Oh, no,
with the flag behind you.
The flag's. I was thinking in the coat rack.
Nice bloods in.
Right, she is absolutely mortified. This makes it even better. Are you enjoying this as much as I am? 'Cause I think this is great.
Thank you.
Now you can, that needs to be put in a place of prominence.
I think it should just be standing in front of her, and just the
Can you
work.
make that your background, your virtual background?
I have a funny feeling Valerie skipped the conference for a reason this year.
Yes.
You have a cheering committee here. Cheering squad.
I think that's an excellent idea. Especially when they all came in and they weren't here for public comment. I was like,
Yeah. Sorry. Thank you.
Oh, I had texted Matt. He then told me he couldn't go.
There we go.
Thank you.
Okay.
We love you.
What a good news night.
Right?
That's the way to start every meeting.
That is.
this is a good evening to invite Chin as well, too. Chin will meet all of us later. He's like, oh, he gets a good sense of. Right?
Yeah. Well, that was one of my takeaways at the conference last week. They were like, we really need to celebrate good news. That's the whole thing about school
good point.
districts. So why not? Well, after all of the fun, let's get down to business. So we're going to move to our first item on the agenda, which is the start time update following our tweaking, I would say, of our start times and bus pickup times from November 3rd. So, Dr. Chu, if you want to give us an update on how you think it's going.
Yes. So immediately, the leadership team was very happy. They saw the very first day. They saw, the buses were moving quickly. The amount of time that students were on the buses had been reduced drastically. When we look at the data and the average times over those 2 weeks, it did cut down that time significantly. I did have just a few people who reached out to me with concerns about the changes in times, and I kind of, in ways that I could address those concerns, I did. But we haven't heard concerns about families getting from the two schools at the same time, which I think is helpful. There were people who were a little concerned about that, but in talking with specifically even the principals at Day and Miller, they were paying attention to see if that was going to impact people who have children in both of those schools, and so far nobody has received any concerns. So I think that's been great, and just the anecdotal information of kids sitting on buses, it's moving quickly, and they're like, wow, they're not even they're not sitting and waiting the way that they were. So I appreciate everybody's patience. I appreciate the flexibility that everybody had. I did put in my November update because I did have a couple people reach out to me. I did share that in my November update, that we have no intention of making any other changes. That's not what this was. We knew that we made this one change, and we knew that we would kind of look at it. And so I feel like the changes that were made have been very effective. The middle school buses made some adjustments that second week, and those times dropped significantly once they really changed their pickup times, their first pickup times. WA the traffic pattern and the way that everything is working at WA, they very much want things to stay the way that it is because it's
working.
Yes, it seems to have
Settled in.
seems settled. Thank you. Yes, it seems to have settled. So so we didn't make any adjustments there, but the feedback so far has been very positive. I'm curious as to how anything that you've heard.
Any questions?
Small subsets. I heard a little bit of tightness between the Miller and Day buses
Okay.
just because I have some more people in that district since that's my school district. But I don't know if that got worked out over the last few days a little bit. So did you hear anything about the NAB buses, like sitting out in front of NAB? Has that improved? Do you know? So no, that came up with a few concerns.
My understanding is that the change in the time has eliminated that.
Sitting on the road, side of Plain Road.
Yeah, that when the buses could not all fit at the same time, because the way in which they're coming in now, it's staggered enough that students aren't sitting and waiting, and there is no backup, which is what was that's what created that earlier.
I'd say on the topic of good news, if there are, not that I welcome, we always welcome parents to reach out to us, but if there were any parents that had expressed concern about the times and wanted to update us that they were looking better, that would be awesome. It's always easy to send emails to us when things are not working well, so I think we would welcome to hear some updates, especially from some of the parents that they had reported back that their children were having longer bus times. I'd be interested to hear from those direct sources if they're seeing that being alleviated a little bit from this.
I was curious just on that, Shayna. I didn't see any information, forgive me if I looked at the wrong one, on the afternoon bus rides, length of bus journey, which I appreciate this data was coming from our principals, but I think that's the data that would be helpful to ask the bus drivers for
To see,
because we were getting the morning kind of average time on
Yeah.
bus, but we weren't getting the afternoon.
Okay.
And I think that was the one
Yeah,
that
there's
we
more
were kind of,
challenges in the
yeah.
afternoon.
So I think that would be helpful, even if we could just get,
Yep.
you know,
Or maybe
to
one final.
one
Yep.
final,
Yep.
that data point of
Yeah.
where we're at and the bus journey in the afternoons.
Well, and then we'll need to keep an eye on it also as the weather becomes more challenging. Yeah, but obviously
have
that's
that
gonna be
every
every
year,
year anyway,
you
but
know what I
just,
mean?
just as a point of reference, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
I-
based on the morning times,
It's better.
yeah.
So, my observation, I quickly scanned through the data, the average times on bus look much better. There's still a couple outliers that are getting close to that 40, and I think one might have even been over the 40 minutes. So just, you know, going forward, not necessarily any changes this year, but, you know, in our route designs next year, I think we need to try to.
We'll always have those outlier because the size of the district, it's just we're too big.
I think that was in the first week of the middle schools. If I'm not, Stony
I'm
Brook.
looking at one for Robinson that was 39 minutes, 38 minutes, 37
Oh, I
minutes.
see that.
So
Yep.
then they're just,
39, yep, I see
you know,
that.
And again, yes, geographically, you know, that may be the case,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
just,
I think we say up to 45 anyway, isn't it? Yeah, we kind of say up to 45 minutes is,
okay,
An absolute max, yeah.
yeah.
okay.
I think it's just harder on those families just because our middle schools are just so much further,
Yeah.
so much further away from where they're used to going from Christopher Lee and Robinson.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
just
yeah,
nothing-
yeah. Yeah.
We can't pick up the schools and magically move them, although that is a consideration.
Well, interestingly, that's gonna be part
As
of
a
our
segue to our
conversation.
next conversation.
When
See?
Chin joins us in a few minutes, that's one of the things we will be talking about is the future of.
Yeah, but I think that
Yeah.
that's
Who's
something
going
to
to
keep
what
in mind
school?
too, so we pull our middle schools over. They're
Put them
just
on a truck.
considerably further away from your Millers, your Christopher Lees, and your
Right.
Robinsons.
So,
When you were saying that the concerns that you responded to, those were all before the change though, right?
They were,
Okay.
we had a handful of people who reached out about the change. They
Yeah.
were concerned about the change, or they were, well, actually, yes, it was in response to the fact that we were about to make the change.
Okay.
some people didn't, some people thought that the change was too extreme, and then some people thought that the change wasn't enough, or the fact that we were making a change after they've already kind of established the routines. That was really
Gotcha.
the themes.
Yeah. Okay, but those
yeah.
emails haven't been coming in
They have
with
not.
the change.
They
Okay.
have not. So if people are concerned, they haven't reached out.
Okay. One last thing, I was gonna ask this question, but you kind of spoke to it in your update, was about the WA. I mean, I hear you on the traffic patterns being like this balancing act with the car line. I initially saw some of those drop-off times of 7:35, 7:40, and was like, that's 20 minutes, right? That like
Right.
all some of this would have helpfully alleviated. It stinks to still see that.
Yeah.
But I understand that might be just the nature of.
And I think it's something we'll continue to work towards in the future. I mean,
Yeah.
it is still a significant change from what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think as we're looking at that, and as we're looking at, developing the routes in the future to see as we can continue to be mindful of that. And again, we started with a very clear, we didn't want buses unloading before 7:40, but that's when then the school responded. It was just incredibly difficult with the traffic pattern.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
To have people sitting,
So
and even if they come later, it's still easier for them to keep moving through
Yeah.
with all the families and
Yeah, because
students
you
driving.
have 3 different transportation methods, really,
Right.
at that point. You have the buses coming and going,
Mhm.
which crosses parent drop-offs, which then also impact student
Students,
drivers.
right.
So,
Right.
And we do have some drivers who aren't following the rules, as pointed out even by some of our own
Yeah.
students on Facebook recently. They shared to make sure that everyone follows the correct traffic pattern,
Yes.
so as not to disrupt what is a delicate balance
Yes.
over there in the mornings.
Yes, so.
Yeah.
And, that road itself, for anyone that has done the drop-offs, is not the most conducive for the amount of traffic that flows through there in a probably 30-minute period, so.
I think it's safe to say that when the school was built and while it's
Yeah.
been sitting there, that not as many people drove to school.
Yes. Yep, so.
Okay, so the takeaways, we just kind of are looking to kind of monitor for the next bit, and then maybe if we can kind of get those afternoon.
Yeah, we'll work with that. We need to collaborate. That
Yeah.
Dee was providing us with some of that information, but we'll reach out to Dee to get those final drop-off times, because
Yeah.
that's what the schools don't have access to.
Exactly.
So that we can see what are those afternoons like.
Yeah, that
Yep,
would be
we'll
great.
do that.
Super. Okay, and then moving on, we're going to do our Robinson School Building Committee update this evening. And we've got a whole gang of team here.
So we do. So I'd love to welcome Chin Lin to join us up here as one of our representatives from Vertex.
Awesome.
And I think we had mentioned this to all of you when we talked about the OPM process. Probably the thing about Vertex that really jumped out to us was the way in which they understood the project, our specific individual project. Like, a number of different groups seemed to understand our community and understood the area and understood elementary schools in general, but Vertex really leaned into the fact that they understood what this potential question was, and the fact that not only are we looking at a building, but we're looking at redistricting, and we're looking at potential grade reconfiguration and redistricting as well too. And they shared a lot of experience with that, and even in talking about it recently at the most recent school building committee, they were talking again about the different responsibilities that the Robinson School Building Committee has in terms of the designer, in terms of looking at the building, in terms of all those decisions, and then separating out what the school committee responsibilities are. And so we thought that it would be a great thing to kind of have Chin come talk with all of you to kind of map that out, because we're going to have different conversations going on that will be supporting and working with the work that the Robinson School Building Committee is doing, but it's things that are in your purview as a full committee, which really is about what does the districting and the grade configuration look like for our elementary schools and the impact that it'll have.
Yeah. I've pulled up the same slides that we brought to the Robinson School Building Committee. If you don't mind, we could just walk through those and see what questions come up.
Sure. And the intro and the team, and so the team is much bigger because that when we go into construction and also that going to the move-in, that there are even more issues. And then also we have a Mary Cuppen, who is specialized in the finance side, that would be helping the town to work with the MSBA reimbursement. And then there's a whole process which a meeting need to be set up on that one. So we introduced everybody in the team, and we do have we carry Copper GIS. They're a redistricting consultant. They work nationally, and then they also have very extensive Massachusetts experience. And then as a subset of that company, they also work with a demographer that if that is necessary, we can tap into that for this process. Next.
Awesome.
And just simply, I don't want to bore everybody with with this, so we should just skip that. We're just simply saying that we've done this.
Yes, and I feel like that's the other part of the intro that I was thinking about was like, we as the committee, our building committee, are so grateful to have experts in the room now, and experts leading the conversation, and even just the way that, like Chin's thinking about 6 months from now, what conversations and how can we kind of flush out any early concerns and kind of get everybody really thinking ahead to this and wrapping our brain around this, which leads us to why we're here tonight. So.
And just for information, I was on the Westwood Pine Hill Elementary School, which also has a 3 enrollment option that we had to get to 1, and then so I was for that project. I was from day 1 to completion, and then now is working on some of the last bits of closeout. And then I have been involved in vast majority of the schools on that in terms of the when they have multiple enrollment. Also work with the Coakley Middle School, where they added 1 grade into the middle school there, and as well as that's in Norwood. And so done that, and we understand some of the must-address issue, but what we do not know is what's specific to your community that would be necessary that we need to address and then be aware of ahead of time. And then so that this is a great opportunity to be here to have that conversation before we put anything, before we even have the designer, so that we can have that conversation about the idea here is that the more we can know about what are the anxiety-causing issues, the better we can ask the team to address them. Mm-hmm. And then that would then calm everybody down, and then we can get to the solution in the most efficient way as possible. Next.
One other point I just want to raise on this slide, actually 2 points. One is that when we were interviewing OPMs and reviewing other people's proposals, this hit home that Vertex there's all these OPMs that have experience building a shiny new elementary school, right? And that's easy if you're in a smaller district where it's an elementary, a middle, and a high school. But this was really impressive to see all of the experiences with juggling the configurations, thinking through. And I believe the number on the side, what the slide is also really showing is we're making a decision for like a Robinson School project, but it impacts, like the decisions can ripple and impact all the students K to 5.
Your project is very, very unique in that just on the enrollment side, on the smallest one is 470. That's a lot bigger than anything you got right now. So that's one thing. So that one we have to deal with. And then when you get to the second option, that's 750. I can't remember the exact number, but that immediately get us into the reconfiguration of the now we're into the K-5 scenario, and then what do you do with the rest of the schools, and not to mention that it's Robinson and Abbott, and
Right, which aren't sister
then
schools,
you just broke that the sister school pairing.
Day in there, and you have break
And
all
then,
the sisters.
and then when you get into
all the siblings are broken up.
Whoa, and then that's the other thing. And then when you get there, you're talking about half of your K-5 population. Right? You're taking 3 schools out of the 6, number one. And number two is that that's about a quarter of your entire student population.
Yeah.
That you, and then basically half of the student population at that point, because you're going to be rearranging a lot of stuff to, if we go there, because that all the remaining school would be impacted at a minimum by going to the K-5. Right. So there are many issues, and then so ideally is that if we can get some feedback from the community in terms of what are the things that make you anxious, and then what are the things that are going to keep you up at night, so that we can then go find the experts and get the answer for you, so that we can move forward with the project. So that's the sort of ideal that I love to have that opportunity to have that conversation.
Go through all the things.
Sure.
Yeah.
And maybe
It's a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe they'll come up later. I was thinking that part of this might be helpful if you're able to help connect us with some of the school committees in some of these other districts, so that we can maybe talk to them, even if it's Catherine to their chair,
Yep.
about like, how did they pitch this to their communities? How did they sell it to the wider audience? What were things like lessons learned that didn't go well? How did they get them through their town meetings? Things like that might help
Yes.
us figure out the most effective ways to communicate to our community when these are like
Nope.
kind of down the
They're-
road-ish
not really.
things, but
We have to be thinking about them now.
we
Yeah.
need to be really
Yes.
thinking about
You-
how.
and then the other piece is the schedule, and I think that I don't.
It's coming up in the side, yeah.
We'll get there, because it's going to feel like you don't have enough time. I can tell you that.
It's felt really slow, and
Yeah,
I feel like
Valerie's
it's
ready
gonna
to
feel
go.
like.
Yeah.
So the snowball is about to
Yeah.
hit the
Yeah.
I do
in a-
take comfort
right.
that we're not the only ones looking at
Well, and I think-
reconfiguration and
Yes.
collaboration.
Yeah, and I think we don't
combining.
need to necessarily reinvent the wheel, right? All these communities that you've directly worked with, in addition to other ones, maybe that Vertex hasn't, but these are direct communities you've worked with that have gone through the painstaking process of getting community buy-in to get their projects approved, and I think that's, for
And-
me, one of my biggest angst points is how do we make the best decision for all of Westford, and we get on board, folks in town that are struggling, folks in town that don't have children in school systems anymore, and all the things that we heard when we went through the override process.
Well, and this is multifaceted in that, like, kind of what I'm hearing from you is that concern about getting the support around the building project. But the truth is, and kind of what Chin's leaning towards
All
is
of
that
it's gonna-
if we don't have buy-in about the reconfiguration piece,
We're
then
gonna
you could lose
those
people's
people.
support for the building.
Right.
If they don't like what the impact it's
Right.
gonna have on all of the
Yeah.
elementary
So that the
schools.
first,
Absolutely.
out of the gate, that you have to have the parents to be on your side, otherwise we don't have anything to talk about,
Right.
right? Because if the parents are not gonna support your grade reconfiguration, we're done. We're sticking to the Robinson at 470.
And so one of the things that we'll share with Vertex is we have started those conversations.
yes,
right?
I'm
So we
aware of that.
started those conversations when we were working through this with SMMA to talk about, what we're looking at, what those possible configurations could be, getting feedback. Again, it was a couple of years ago, and so it's a different set of parents, right? But we asked the question about, you know, the transition between second to third grade, how people felt about that, how people felt about a K to 5 situation versus the current K to 2 and 3 to 5. And so we received really valuable feedback from that encouraged us to continue the conversation. There was always people who, you know, there were always people who like one more than the other, but it was enough feedback that said, okay, no, I think the vast majority of people also saw that transition between second to third grade, that having to change schools isn't necessarily the best option. And if there's another thing that we could consider, we should be looking at that. And the idea of, you know, someone being able to stay in the same elementary school throughout, you know, pre-K to 5, the benefit to that.
And is there any, like, does DESE keep, or I don't even know where you would find this, maybe it's a, like, pipe dream question, but, like, is there information somewhere of other school districts? I know maybe some of these have reconfigured, but that have gone through some sort of a similar grade reconfiguration that we may be able to speak to about the things that are going well after they made that configuration change, or things
What
that
you
they've
can-
heard from parents.
What you can
Again,
find is you can find how few districts actually have the situation that we have.
And the thing
I
is, we
lead with
didn't
few.
always have it.
They do exist, but it's few.
Yeah.
The number of districts that have the
configuration
organization
we
that
do.
we have.
Yeah.
Whether we could, I don't think DESE couldn't tell us necessarily who's made that change in order for us to find that. Was that an owl?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of us probably kicked the power cord or
The owl
something.
just hooted us?
He just
Are we good?
reminded us he's awake.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we're-
And then one other thing is that that just sort of be in the MSBA process, how you teach. That's up to they don't want to get involved on that part.
Yeah.
Okay, enrollment, they already done the work with you to get that 3 enrollment option. After that, how you teach is really it belongs to your decision and the purview of which is also going to be the same thing on the educational program. And the educational program is basically, in a very simple way, is that put it in words how you're going to teach. And then this one is going to be a little bit tougher, Dr. Chu, and I'm looking at you because you're going to have to lead the charge of working on that, especially if we go to the K-5.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have to you're going to have to write how you're going to teach in both current model and as well as the K-5. And then this is where sort of, if we do our homework correctly, a lot of the anxiety will go away, that if we can do a comprehensive projection on how the K-5 will be operating, covering all the questions, then we have far fewer questions to answer later down the road, and it will make life a lot easier. And then so this is sort of like the process favors working hard and front load to get that right. We'll get to the schedule, and then but we should probably get to.
If I can just make one more comment about this, and I definitely understand getting parent buy-in, but administrator buy-in too, because
Yes.
right now we share staff between those sister schools, right? And that would also break. So just being open about communication, about what, not to stoke fear, but just to, again, be transparent with the staff so they are involved.
This is where sort of the educational
Yeah.
plan have to be very complete in how, in both scenario of how, and then unfortunately you're going to have to write, you almost have to do a 2B option, because when you do the 2-school versus the 3-school option, that there will be differences, and then what do you do with the rest of the schools? That's another layer of issue. In an ideal world, you should also have that all ready and then we'll just bundle in one that, in the educational plan. If you do that well, then you would address 90 to 95% of the concern about education, right? So if somebody says, how are you going to do whatever that something is, hopefully 95% of the answer are in that educational plan. And I can definitely feed you with the regular stuff. But there are definitely going to be things that, that you need with your system.
And I'm sure we talked about how all this will funnel too, but I'd like to see a different middle school split too come out of this, right? As a day parent whose kids get split off, you know, is 2/3, 1/3 kind of situation.
Well,
I'd love to see an end result of this, to have the schools more holistically going off to Stony and Blanchard without having
That
a
was one
singular
of the
school.
things, that was one of the things that we looked at, and we looked at, once we realized that we think the day school could be absorbed into
Yeah.
this, then you have 50% of your elementary students would be in one building.
They'll be in one
And
building and they'll go
50%
all
would be
together.
then spread out through
Yeah.
the other schools. And so in theory, you could keep them together. There it is again.
What's that message saying up on it? I just want to make sure we're not losing.
Yeah.
We're definitely on Zoom, and
Yeah.
like we're sharing a screen, and I think like my screen of no, like my video is
Yeah,
off,
yeah, yeah,
but like
yeah, yeah.
the Zoom is running.
It's running. Okay.
It's just not picking up our faces right now, which is okay because we're
Yeah.
screen sharing. I'm not sure what's triggering that.
Okay.
And this slide is just simply the steps that it would take to get through the MSBA process. And trust me, we will give you a lot more information to provide you with that, to give you more detail. And Valerie, what's the next one? Just
The timeline example.
timeline.
Yep.
Okay, so timeline that, okay, the next one, okay, the timeline. This is the important one. We're going to get our architect selection sometime. We made the deadline for the February selection process, and then so by March we will have our designer on board. And at the moment, we have penciled in the schedule to have the PDP and PSR. PDP stands for Preliminary Design Program, I believe, and then PSR is the Preferred Schematic Report. The PDP and PSR, we want to have that completed by December of 26 in order to meet the deadline to submit for the February MSBA board meeting, which then allow you to move to the next stage. Okay, these are all dates driven by MSBA board meeting days, which only meet 6 times a year, which translate to you're going to have to make a decision on which enrollment option by a year from now. And hopefully, at that point, that we can get to a point that we're all on the same page on whatever that option may be.
Right.
And which also means that for Dr. Chu and your staff, that the designer is going to be putting pressure on you to get as many meetings as possible before people disappear for summer to get the educational planning done.
Right.
And the ed plan requires a school committee vote to basically accept that as to move forward for the project. And then the next vote that is absolutely required by the school committee is the enrollment. All the other submission to MSBA ideally is to have the supporting vote from the school committee, but it's not a required. Those two that I mentioned, those are required votes from school committee, and then we will require to have the meeting minute and
Vote certification.
certified and all that.
Yep.
Okay.
And so I'm looking at the chair and co-chair. There is we're going to have to start thinking about schedule.
Yep.
Okay. And if you want to do it backward, say by November, a year from today, that we have to take that vote. Yes, we can also move it back, but it just said there are other issues but we'll talk about that possibility. But if we're going to make that vote, we better have enough public meetings prior to that to explain to everybody what this is why we're looking at these three options, and this is why we're looking at this project, and these are the things that we're proposing, and then so that we can answer as many questions as possible. So by that point, that we can build some consensus. Okay. The advantage of doing this ahead of time and in the next calendar year is that if we do this well, you have just made your life a lot easier when you go to the vote, right? And because can you reach out to parent group for support and organizing and so on and so forth? This is all. If we do the job right in the next 12 months, life will be a lot easier. It will be less troublesome when you further down the line. That all makes sense?
Yep, 100%,
Okay.
yeah.
Questions?
Absolutely.
One
So,
thing
concerns?
that really jumps out at me about the timeline is that this is gonna have to go to special town meeting, right?
Oh, yes.
It's gonna have to go in the October town meeting. So I think we
That's
wanna
the
make sure.
tentative plan,
we're-
yeah.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
communicating that.
Yep.
Because this is gonna be a ginormously hot button topic. And so we're gonna wanna make sure holistically as a town, right, that
Yep.
Right.
maybe we have a little bit of a lighter set of other things that are on the docket for that day, because this is gonna,
And
it's already a
getting,
2.5 hour meeting on a good day,
Yeah.
right, on a weeknight, that this is gonna,
and getting out in front of these are, this should be an annual town meeting thing, like getting out in front of those.
It's possible too, I know that these are all based on MSBA meetings and gates and
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
like that, and so this is kind of like the tentative timeline, but one conversation that's come up is like, maybe it needs its own town meeting too. So I think all of
Yeah.
those are
A
sort of
special
fair game
town
once we get
meeting.
closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not unusual for projects of this nature to be a
standalone.
special town meeting with only
One agenda.
only one item on there, or sometimes it's two,
But I think
depends
just
on.
us
It's a
keeping that in
question,
mind
right?
as you're
Depends on if
talking.
there might be a separate
Well,
agenda
because the-
aligned to it.
You also want
Um,
it to be close to the vote. The longer time you have between like a town meeting decision and a ballot vote, that's very unusual with the way Westford does that in the spring.
Agreed, so if
So-
we vote in October, it doesn't go to ballot till,
No,
Like
you want to go,
Or
if
we'll go in the
you
November
want to do the
cycle.
November override vote.
Right.
If you do the October special town meeting, you want to do the November election date for the override. So there are a lot of, so those things we would typically work with the town manager to
Yeah, I'm sure you're
sort out the
already
dates.
talking with Kristen,
Um,
but I think,
And each
Yep,
town
all
also
things to keep
has.
in mind, yep.
yeah.
Yeah, and each town also has, like, there are certain, most towns has a limitation of, from the date that you authorize for the town meeting, there's only so many days that you have to do for the override in order, it's only valid for X number of days, et cetera. So we have to, there are a lot of details that we would make sure that happens.
Yep, fantastic.
Mr. Lim, are you recommending 6 community meetings before that November date? Is that like a general recommendation?
Okay,
or
for this case, I think 6 is the minimum.
Minimum. That's what, that
Okay.
was my feeling too, is that this would be a minimum.
So there are 2 parts to this.
Yeah.
Okay. One is so there's the community meeting that you go out to explain the topic, and then, but there are also meetings that this group need to hold so that we can bring whoever, if you don't have any agenda yet, right? Sometimes at the school committee, at this stage, you already said that you guys have to tell us about X, Y, Z, and then we want to make sure that these are addressed. But at the minimum, that you want to address educationally, what does this look like? You want to talk about how is the social emotional needs of the students and sometimes parents and staff, how would that be addressed? You want to address operationally. This is about staff, busing, and everything else, and then also about what to do with the leftover, the building that you just vacated. And then there will be usually, you want to have the fourth meeting for anything else. So those 4 are meetings that's with this group that's open to public. But the thing is that the reason to come to here today is I need you guys to think about what are the questions that you want answered. Okay, so educationally, I know where to start, right? That's easy. And then, but what else are the things that the parents are anxious about, and parents, voters, they're affected, and so we can then pair the presentation to this group, and then you can then say, hey, you need to tell us more about whatever. Then we can come back, and then we can do a community meeting that have whether it's the appropriate experts, and I'm going to leave it at that because I do not know what the questions are, and then who do we ask to answer the question will be different, right? And then so we want to be focused about addressing the very narrow topic, and then say, if somebody raises their hands and say, what about budget? It's like, okay, we'll address budget at this date, and then that you can, so that we want to be very, very organized in that way. And the reason for coming here today is that we need to pin those dates down. Okay, and unfortunately, you have to do more than your school committee. You have a school. You have to run the public schools, and this is going to be on top of that. Okay.
Don't scare them at this moment.
Okay, my apologies. but
Just on top of budget season 2, don't we love it?
so this is just simply trying to ask you to allocate enough time and then we can start to put some draft agenda on there. And I do not know what are the issues, but I know that the 3 that I just mentioned, they probably have subsets in there. And redistricting, that's almost guaranteed to be its own. And then redistricting is super messy because that line never, it's very rare to have pretty easy solutions.
You're never going to have a redistricted line that won't have neighbors going to different places, unfortunately.
But that already happens.
Right.
Like,
But
you know
I'm
what I
just
mean?
saying, like, that's the messy piece of it.
That's just the reality that when you draw a line, there's always 2 sides to that line. And
And there's history in Westford, just like there is in any community, and those feelings come out.
Yeah, and then we need to also know about, like, some community got shortchanged 20 years ago. They remember that, and then we want to know that.
Yes.
So that we can if we can address it, great, but at least we know so that we can be prepared to address that.
So can I just, ask, as we're having these discussions throughout the next calendar year at this point, are we talking 3 different options the entire time, or are we going to be working towards kind of funneling what we believe is?
The MSBA says that you have to do it by submission of the PSR. Okay. You can do it earlier, but it usually is not the best way to do things because if you make your decision too early, somebody is going to point it to you and then say that you have not been transparent. Usually that's the first thing that they say. And
So can I interrupt for 1 second? Because I think that it's actually 2 different things, right? It isn't in the school committee's purview as to whether it's a replacement of the building, a renovation or a new build, like that,
Yeah.
that's what the school building committee
Okay.
is gonna be looking at. But what Chin is talking about is that the complexity here is that if we're talking about reconfiguration and bringing the multiple buildings together,
Right.
that is in your purview.
Right.
So,
That's why it's almost.
so we're
those are
not,
kind
like,
of-
this group is never really gonna be talking about if you're just gonna replace Robinson.
Right.
Because if you're just gonna replace Robinson, then
So
it
we're
doesn't
only
change
really in the
anything. It doesn't change
conversation
anything for the school
when
committee.
it Becomes 2 and 3.
So you could get that feedback from the community that they don't want anything to change, and therefore you might say that's the only thing you want to be looking at. But I don't think you're not going to be looking at the 3 options in the same way that the school building committee is going to be looking at the 3 options.
And
Right, I'm thinking more like the educational design.
Yep.
Right,
Like, that's what, yeah, he was saying, like, you have to approve that.
right, so at some point, we're gonna be having those discussions of which way is the.
But I think we document all that for
Yeah,
all of them.
I think our education plan will say, what does a K2 look like?
Okay.
What does a K to 5 look like?
Okay.
So that whole plan will come to you, and I think you will then approve that plan.
And it's perfectly reasonable and most likely that as you go through this process, you will find that, oh, this option may be better, but you don't make that decision until you want to vet out all the options,
Definitely.
right? And then even though you know this is the way we're moving towards, but we still want to make sure that everybody can come along and understand why we're doing that. And then there's another piece at Valerie that the school building committee is in charge of selecting which site and which design option. Okay, that's not this group. But they will be influenced by the enrollment option. Like, for instance, if the site is too small, you're just not going to fit that many kids in there unless you build it 5 stories tall, right? So those are the things that are interlinked.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And so the final decision goes to the school building committee. You can definitely voice your opinion to the school building committee, but they take that vote. But this committee takes a vote on the enrollment.
Can I ask, Chin, in the timeline we're discussing, you mentioned you have a partner company, something GIS, that can help with redistricting, reconfiguration. At what point in this process, if we were to work with them, would you see their involvement?
How much political risk are you willing to take?
All of it.
No, very little.
I'm gonna tell you to do
Well,
it sooner
have we
rather
told
than
you about
later.
our new start times? And have we told you about the busings that, like, you talked about, like, the
Change
things that
those
people
start
fear?
times in the middle of the
One
year?
one of the major fears that people had, we've actually already addressed in that we combined all of our K to 5 students on buses
Yeah,
this year.
That is a very.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal,
Yeah.
yes, because it's like, is little Johnny going to get beat up on the
That's
bus,
right.
right?
It's a big deal.
And then, so that's very real. And then the reason that I'm pausing and then I'm asking you how much risk are you willing to take is that the moment we start having that conversation and start drawing any sort of line, there will be people on one side of the line and there will be people on the other side of the line. We need to manage it so it does not derail the process,
Right.
okay? And
But
then
that information, though, could be helpful
But what we do is
at
we'll
what point of the
engage
process.
them,
Yeah,
but we don't share it in the public.
okay.
We looked at redistricting before COVID, a few years before COVID, and because we had, the population was shifting, right? So we had some crowding that was taking place, and so we had looked at it, and we had gone through the entire process, spent about a year and a half looking at what it could possibly look like if we were to divide both the lines for the elementary schools and the middle schools, right? Because it was the issues at both ends there. And then there was a decision not to go forward with that, but it was something that we had kind of already looked at. And so one of the things I'm going to try to do is to find that, now granted, the population has changed since then, but at least that data
Right.
that
As a
exists that
starting
showed what you could potentially, where you could potentially move some of these lines, it's a starting point.
Right. And in a very, very odd way, when you go to the highest option where you combine all three schools into one, is a lot easier because that's one line that you draw through the town. Right? It's 50% of the K-5 population. So all I have to do is just draw a line that get me roughly even.
Yes and no, because then you would still be left with not one school for the other half, correct?
Oh, it's going to,
So it would be, it's
the
still.
line is going to be,
But just imagine 1/2 is
Is going there.
accounted for.
Yes,
Then you've
yes.
got the remaining. right?
no, but the thing is that because that makes it, you draw one line for the 50%, and then the other piece is then you have to make a decision, am I keeping all the remaining schools, or am I closing some of them, and or do I have a plan that maybe that we then start to look at 5 years down the line, and which is, I know
Sorry,
exactly
I'm
where
trying
you're
to go
going
to
to.
this. This is what I'm trying to go to.
Yes. So at some point, so this is for Westwood, where they have 5 elementary schools. Only 3 of them are part of the MSBA program. It's either Singleton or Hanlon, or Hanlon with Deerfield, or Hanlon and Sheehan. And then so that we color-coded the green is if it's in the MSBA project, and then what do you do with the others? Okay, so a version of this for Westford will be needed, and the next slide is is an empty one that I just sort of starting that process of
Gotcha.
sort of we have to get there. You have to have you have to be able to answer to every single parent, this is what's going to happen to your kids with this project.
Yeah, let's spend a minute just even looking at the empty one here, because I loved the fact that you did this.
Yeah.
And this was one of the things that just really said, okay, yes, we're in good hands, right? Because again, the way in which you talked about the fact, and Valerie had alluded to it earlier, that you are aware that any decision we make has an impact
On every single
If
student.
you don't
on
have
6 elementary schools.
If you don't have this chart filled out with decent answers on every single
right.
category, the chance of passing is low.
Right.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you that up front.
But if we can really fill this out and have clarity around what any project looks like, then I think people will have more confidence.
Can you go back to the Westwood one? So Westwood, I did this for Westwood, and then after this, they looked at it and I said, oh, we know which one we want to go already. They didn't take the vote, but they know where they want to go because of sort of some of the complexity of the implication to the rest of the district makes it so that politically, the option number 2 of Hanlon, Deerfield 560 was the best solution, and then that one passed with absolutely no problem. And so but you want to play out every single scenario so that so Dr. Chu can answer the question on whatever parent says, I live in so-and-so, I live on this street, and what's going to happen to my kids?
Right.
What I thought was really interesting that just popped out at me when we were at that blank chart, so we were joking about breaking up the siblings, right? But when you look at the 3 empties, they're in your 3 separate, you've got your Millers
Oh,
up
yeah.
on your Tingsboro side, your Chrysophilia is on your other side, and then you've got your NAB in the middle.
Yeah.
So the way that could potentially be breaking up the sister schools is actually leaving neighborhood schools.
Yes.
That's the point, that
for
was what we had
those-
talked about.
And I know it just, we were joking about it, and then when I looked at this chart again, I was like, oh, look
Yeah.
at the geographic placement. It goes back to the long bus rides, it goes
Right.
back to the neighborhoods, it goes back to the kids that are,
What
hitting
makes
the
it
school
really
together.
interesting too is if you look at this on a map,
Yeah.
you can see like, geez, wouldn't it be great if we had an empty parcel of land
Right there.
right here,
There.
in this other quadrant, you know, because but we're going to be limited by that too. So
Yeah.
you're looking at like, oh, this would be
Yeah.
in a
Taking
vacuum.
is always possible.
in a vacuum, right? Like this is the circle you would draw around Christopher. This is the circle you would draw around Miller. This is Namnesa. Okay, so where is the other school go on a blank map? And will be limited
well, that's
by
your
those sites.
problem, I'll say.
Yeah.
That's not a school committee
Yes.
problem, right, guys?
Good luck with that.
Sorry,
I'm just kidding, sorry.
Live
But
under
that
both of
just
it,
seemed
yeah.
really interesting to me, the way that when you look at them broken like that,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden
Yeah.
you're like, oh.
Well, and that's another conversation we've been having too, is that some of, like, the layout of our schools, not just having 6 elementary schools, but some of them are on top of each other or too close to each other, right? And like, what would be the ideal,
Yeah.
siting and layout?
I
And
think
the vast majority, not everybody, but the vast majority of our students and families have incredibly positive experiences at their elementary schools. And the idea of now staying at one of those schools for K to 5, whichever one that is, I do think people will be very excited about it.
Well, that's part of your educational sales
That's right.
pitch, right? Is
Right.
they're gonna have the same teachers that are at Abbott today are just going to now be
At a different
NAV.
location,
You know,
right.
the whole, those same, you're
we
gonna
still need
get-
the same number of staff.
You're gonna have the
typically,
same
yeah.
people there, it's just their kids aren't gonna have to switch schools and change up their routines and
And we
change up their
started talking about
times.
when this was the primer to this was even our space usage, when Valerie and Jeff and I went to all of the buildings and met with all the principals and looked at, okay, what would your building look like if it was K to 5? How would you use that space? And we've already started all of that. We had those conversations. And one of the things we talked about with all the principals, and then they kind of would talk about with their faculty as the conversations came up, was there will also be differences between faculty who might want desperately to stay in this building because they love this community, and faculty who want to stay with the grade because they love that grade. So there would be shifting around, and that's just
The nature.
the nature of it, and that is what happens.
But that's the nature
That's right.
of school districts in
Right.
general. Look back at the history of Westford. We've had different
Well,
elementary
we do.
schools,
We have
different like
teachers who volunteer to change
yeah,
grades.
yeah,
We
yeah.
have teachers who change it within the, but it was just that aspect of like what it could look like, because it kind of goes back to your point, Shayna. It's like there's going to be different people.
You guys can draw, whatever you want me to talk about, I'll talk about, and so, but
I'm
this
sorry,
is.
I was scrolling as you were
No,
talking.
this is the conversation that need to happen, and there is one thing that we did not talk about, and we didn't put it up there, is we have to look at, I'm gonna ask Dr. Chu, and it's gonna be some combination of the three of you need to start the conversation to have the script of why are we even doing this? Okay, and then basically, eventually, what we have to get to is that the facility need, the cost, because we have to, so you always have to compare if you do nothing versus you do this project, and then going down the road of what does that look like 5, 10, or sometime further, and depends on, and then so we need to even, before we can even start having that conversation, we have to convince people that the building is in such desperate need that you need to do this. And quite frankly, I don't even have to look at the building that, I know MSBA does not pick a project unless
Right.
you're desperate.
I was going to say, the good part of that is that
We've done that.
we've already done that, which is why we have the benefit of having you with us now,
Yeah.
because we had to do all that work just to get the community to support the feasibility study. Right.
And then, so you have convinced enough people to do that. And then now we have to, in the projection for
Right.
the next 12 months, we have to get get to the senior that doesn't want to see the
Right.
tax increase,
Yeah.
getting to the naysayer because they just don't want to see anything,
Right.
and whatever else. And then so there's a sort of, if the quicker or if we start to plan out the next 12 months comprehensively, that's where we can get the most out, to sort of make it life easier for everybody.
One of the good things is it sounds like our town partners are on board with this too, because of space needs on the town side as well. So that takes a political risk of bringing this project forward.
Yeah.
And reduces it a little bit, so
But I
that's
think-
good.
Yeah, if the Abbott building becomes available, that has a major
And
point that impacts the town's overall master plan.
Infrastructure, yeah.
And it is required, as part of the eventual submission, when you do make the selection of one of the when you go down to one option, you do need to explain how the building that will be buildings that will be vacated as a result of this project and where they're going to be, and then and there are other
Yeah.
regulations that we have to inform you later.
I'm sure you've talked about this with the building committee too, but we should hold some of these public forums at Robinson.
100%.
Yes.
And I'm sure it's coming, I'm sure I'm not the first person that
I
thought, but
actually
like.
think we should be holding them at the various schools if we're talking about reconfiguration.
Well, I was
or
gonna say, when you said
redistricting,
6 meetings, I was like, well, we have 6 elementary schools, so you might wanna have one at each elementary
Yeah.
school.
Yeah, I think so.
For-
That's the way to do it.
That's like probably the minimum.
Yeah,
I'm
I-
just
Yes.
right.
realistic
Yeah,
about it.
hopefully more like 10 maybe would, yeah.
And
but
I
that
did
would
scroll
include
back
it.
just to make sure everybody was clear. There's these two slides, I think,
This
help
is important
visualize
to look
the
at.
timeline.
Yeah.
And I know there's another document in the packet that's like word salad or.
Yeah,
or
the acronyms.
The
Yeah,
acronym, yeah.
so like the PSR and the PDP, it's like, I thought this slide speaks human.
Yeah.
And is like, what's in the building and where is the building and how much does it cost? And then aligns that with these acronyms and the MSBA steps.
And then
So-
the enrollment decision has to take place before the schematic designs can be, you have to have the approval from MSBA. And so by the time you get to schematic design, you have one option.
Right.
And then that phase is really to pin down the cost and the schedule.
Right. So
Okay.
the yellow and the green, the PDP, the preliminary design option, is described here. And then what follows is the preferred
PSR.
schematic report.
Yeah.
And then before the blue is where we would have one option.
So at the end of the PSR, as part of the submission is where you take the vote for the enrollment, and then there is only one option moving forward from that point.
Right, right. Everybody good on the timeline before we move on?
Did I sufficiently confuse
I
everybody?
mean-
No, I think it's exciting.
There's a lot to digest there, but it's there to be digested, which
Yeah.
is good.
Right.
I think the one question that's jumping out with me with all of this and to keep in the back of our mind as we go through the whole process is the equity of it.
Yes.
The equity of
That's-
having a building with 1,000 students
I-
versus the neighborhood kind of buildings. And I know that's definitely a feeling within our parents. We hear that a lot of, what happens at Blanchard versus Stony Brook and stuff, so.
And it's not just like a new shiny building, but it's also what might you lose from the feeling of being in
Yeah.
a building with 1,000 kids
whole
versus
school
just-
assembly
right,
takes on a-
versus just like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
in this little.
There are multiple layers of equity, and
Yeah.
and again, I'm turning to Dr. Chu. When you start writing the K-5, right? How is the K-5 going to be delivered in the 1,000 plus student
Mhm.
and your 300 student school? You have two very different models that you have to deliver when you go there, and then how is the equity of whatever we can build you build you a building that meets exactly what and then how you're going to do that in an existing building, because that question is going to come up at some point.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So,
That's a big one I think
and
we'll have.
it's interesting because I was thinking like the equity of that, but then there's also opportunity
Yes.
to it also
Oh,
because
absolutely.
you get someone who doesn't thrive in that large setting and maybe they're
Mm-hmm.
able to school choice within district to a neighborhood school, right, where they will thrive.
I would,
You know, so there's-
I would suggest that we not separate them from
No.
neighborhood and because
No, but-
ideally, if we go to K to 5,
Yeah.
they're neighborhood schools. One neighborhood might be larger than the other neighborhoods, but they're
Right.
neighborhood schools. That's
Okay.
kind of the whole point, is that instead of having to travel, whether it's 750 students or whether it's 1,000 students,
Right.
the idea would be that they're all K to 5 schools.
Speaking of, this kind of had popped out and it kind of speaks to what you were saying in one sense. Do we have the capacity in this process when deciding to build a building, say if we have, and I'm thinking more like our medically fragile program, you know, would do the MSBA, you know, are they open to us, like, say, including, we want to move this program here
So-
and build a specific part of the building for that?
Yeah. So on the special ed, again, this is educational delivery, it's your decision. It's perfectly reasonable for you to say that because I'm building a new building, so medically fragile, I can serve them much better in this environment, so on and so forth. We want to move that program in here and that become part of your special educational, special ed program, which need to be written up and then also need to be approved by DESE eventually. And the good thing is that those number are not part of the 750 or 1,065. It's outside of the enrollment number. Does not, usually that excludes the special ed program because special ed program is kind of weird that they need a lot more space and serves only a very few students. So they are treated very differently in that way, and you get reimbursed for. So the educational space for special ed will be reimbursed at the whatever your reimbursed rate is. So it will increase the project cost, but you will be benefited by that. That increase is reimbursable versus not reimbursable.
So DESE would, or MSBA is kind of open to including that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
But again, that's a decision just because you already have these programs, and then it's not unusual sometimes that districts, when they say we want to bring back some of our district kids, and so that become part of.
Yeah.
So another
Yeah,
visual
this-
on all the conversations we've been having and how it breaks down between the building committee and this committee. So that's just there for your digestion. This shows up again. We have already talked about the matrix. I feel like there was one. What am I thinking of? Okay.
This slide is just
yeah.
simply going through details about the designer
design
selection process. Designer selection process is strictly school building committee.
Yep. Yep. So I think we've gone a little out of order on the slides, but I think we've covered everything
Yeah.
and had really good
It's real helpful.
conversations. Are there any other? Any other questions?
I just want to say thanks again to the building committee, because in advance, this is going to be a lot of work for you guys. I know there's a lot that's going to pull us in, more than likely, but thanks to everyone that's putting in the volunteer hours on that committee.
Ready to open up our calendar books and start thinking about,
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
Well, and-
this is probably the most important charge of the next calendar year for us, so.
So the
And the S-step,
yeah.
and the budget.
Yeah,
and
step and all, you know,
But,
all
but
together.
you know what, though? I
This is
think
gonna
that
be-
they probably go hand in hand,
They all do.
Yeah,
right?
it all
They
does.
really do. And yeah, I know you're saying that somewhat tongue-in-cheek, opening up the calendar book, but I think that's kind of what we need to do, is get these on the calendar now and start educating people when
And
they're
then,
gonna come up.
just so, one other item that to put on your, while you're thinking about it is that, we have to have the educational plan ahead of time.
Yep.
And then, so therefore, and that, you guys need to be,
Yep.
you have to have your hands on that.
Yep.
And so that is gonna that should happen in the spring semester.
Yep.
Before people disappear.
Yep.
At least we get the bulk of it done, and then let the architect do the writing after the kids, during the summer. But so those meetings you need to start sort of pinning, and then usually there need to be meeting only with the staff, and then and meeting with staff, parents, and other community. And then if you want to have a special meeting just with you guys, and then maybe the curriculum directors or whatever the equivalent, that start to identify what are the kind of groups that you want to have, and then somewhere along the line we also have to talk about busing and operation. So
That's it?
We're used to that. We've done that for the last 2 years.
before the summer, this is all before the summer.
Buckle up.
And then the really difficult part is after September, after people come back, between September and end of November, you have to make that decision for the enrollment. And so I don't know how to manage your schedule at the moment, but that makes it complicated. But the good part is we're talking about it a year ahead of time. And so if you could start to pin the dates down among yourself, then we can work with you.
So I would say that I really do feel like we're in good hands, that
Yes.
Okay.
you've demonstrated that you have an understanding
You
of.
can see why we're so excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
I can see your
so
relief.
I think you may have a full-time job just wrangling us to keep us on track, but with everything else that we are trying to accomplish as well. But I do believe that this is really good information that we're able to get out to the public now, and I think that we'll
And
keep
even if
going
you
and-
just want to have the first meeting, just simply to say, and we'll come over and then just simply say, we're starting the process, okay? And this is what we got. We got 3 options out there. Start telling the committee what are the issues that might concern you, or what are the things that we have to answer for you to vote yes,
Right.
Mhm.
right? And then, because the more we can engage them, the better outcome it will be. They won't feel like they got left out, and then they feel like they take ownership, and then it's not going to be cheap to build a school for 1,000 students. And so we have to bring everybody along.
Yep.
And I think that's pragmatic advice, but, you said we're in good hands. I want our community to know that they're in good hands with us. I feel like we've tossed around a lot of language today about getting people on board and what do we need to do to vote yes, and those are all true. I mean, we will get to that point, but we are not at that point yet. And I just don't want anybody to think that we have a foregone conclusion. We're all in this to convince everybody to build a new school. I've found this committee to be very thoughtful and very grounded in data, and I just want our community to know that that's our approach to this. And so when we talk about educating, we're also talking about listening and integrating that feedback and really making the most thoughtful plan that we feel is best for Westford. Is everybody going to love it? No, but I just
And
don't
I
wanna
think
get
that conversations already started, Jess, because from the budget task force, there was conversations already coming out about the number of buildings regarding efficiencies and enrollment numbers. So the conversation is already out there within the community,
And
which
really,
is good, yeah.
Any option is gonna cost money,
Yeah.
right? Like renovation.
Even doing nothing.
No action
Yeah.
is going to cost you money.
Yes.
We have the no action is already.
Another
Our facilities director has already come before us saying the no action has already cost us a lot of money.
But I think, yes, to your
So,
point, Jess,
yeah.
is, we don't know something has to happen.
Right.
Even if at minimal, it's renovations to the Robinson
Yeah,
Building.
yeah.
We can't do nothing
Right.
and still educate our students. So going through the process with an open mind as to which
Yep.
direction it ends up going is.
And I think our
is for
community
certain,
get
but-
that. Like, I mean, you know, I genuinely feel that we have a really solid school community who really want the best for our students and best for our staff and are well supported. And like you said, Jess, just want to feel like we're confident in the decision making. But we have a very supportive community on the whole. So
And if we can pull this together is to have a no later than when we have the designer on board, that the first couple of weeks is that to, whether you want to do 2 or do 1, it just simply say, hey, we're starting the process with MSBA. This is what we know. This is a timeline. We want you to know, and we want to understand that what's your concern. The lessening part, that's the beginning, because we haven't put a pencil down on anything other than sort of rough idea on the schedule and what are the concerns and what are the and you know what are the things that we do not know in this room.
Mhm.
Basically, those are the one that I have the most fear is the one that
the unknown.
if I
the
if I know
unknown.
what the problem is, I can go find somebody to solve it,
Yes.
or at least come back with an answer.
Yep.
Thank you for coming.
Okay.
and
Well,
joining
thank you
us.
very much. That
Nice to meet
was
you.
Great.
Okay.
frightening,
Anytime.
but
We need the
fascinating at the same time.
glimpse of reality.
And we'll be, and this will be a long road.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Stick with
Okay.
us.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Jen.
Bye-bye.
Lovely
Thank you.
meeting you. Okay. And so I
So
will,
my one final comment on the
Yeah.
idea of breaking out the calendars is, I don't know if it's even feasible, but whether or not we need to have some meetings over the summer to make sure to move
Yep.
forward. I think that would show a lot too. So-
typically school committee are always available anyway for summer meetings. We're always open to them.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, but, you
Yeah.
know,
It
the
wouldn't be
whole
a new
idea
thing,
of everyone
yeah.
goes away, you know.
That never- yeah.
We took last summer off for the most part, right?
Yeah.
And, but just.
Yeah. But we've had
I-
prior years, we've had
yeah,
meetings
that we need to.
via
And I
Zoom
think
or
it's
whatever.
just
Yeah.
something we
Yeah.
just need to be open
Absolutely.
to and, just to make sure everyone's.
Good night. Okay, so with that, I will take a motion to
Motion to
adjourn.
adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?